Hey everyone, Sean with VMP Performance, and behind me I've got a 2014 Shelby GT500 who just recently purchased our Stage 4 Power Pack, and today on Shot Talk Saturday I'm going to show you how to install a 2.4 press-on upper pulley.
Okay, first step is we're going to remove the coolant reservoir. There's two 10mm bolts that we're going to remove and move the coolant reservoir over to the right. You do not need to break the cooling system.
After removing your supercharger belt, we're going to install our new VMP 90mm idler to replace the factory idler pulley.
In the VMP Stage 4 Power Pack, we are decreasing the size of the supercharger pulley. So to make up for that, we are increasing the size of the idler pulley that's slightly larger than factory to increase belt tension. You want to make sure you've got both ends of your clamshell. The one labeled with the VMP logo has a straight through hole. The other side of the clamshell is threaded. So you can put them together with your supplied hardware. You're going to put the bolts in and get them threaded in slightly, but not all the way. That way you can slip the clamshell over your supercharger pulley. So with our crossbar and supplied hardware, we're going to put our bolts through there, and our 3/4 bolt with the dowel pin is going to thread through the center and lay on the supercharger pulley and use for removal of the supercharger pulley. Now you can put the two pieces together. You thread the long bolts into the side of the clamshells. Your supercharger pulley is going to be in your center. With our supplied 5/8 bolt in your kit, there's an M8 by 40 threaded screw thread into the end of the bolt. Your 5/8 nut, you're going to thread down. Make sure that you grease the bolt where the bearing goes on so you have no kind of binding. Okay, first thing we're going to need to do is there's a cap on the nose of the supercharger that we're going to need to remove. We have our clamshell. We're going to slip it over the supercharger pulley and we're going to tighten down. We're going to tighten the bolts on the clamshell holding the supercharger pulley. Now we have our crossbar. It's very important to lube the small washer in the supplied hardware kit. That way you don't get any kind of binding when you're removing the supercharger pulley. Okay, next thing, we're going to install our crossbar. We're going to thread our long bolts into the side of the clamshell, while at the same time, make sure you line up your 3/4 bolt to get the dowel pin inside the nose of the supercharger, where you remove the cover. Next thing, we're going to make sure to tighten our long bolts into the side of the clamshell. Last thing, we're going to remove our supercharger pulley. Don't get frustrated, as it does take a long time because it is pressed onto the nose of the supercharger. Okay, last thing, we're going to install our VMP 2.4 upper supercharger pulley. With our 5/8 bolt, we're going to thread the M8 threaded screw into the nose of the supercharger all the way down. So once you've got that all threaded on, You're going to take two 15/16 wrenches, use one to hold it still, and you're going to use the other to tighten everything down. Now you're safe to remove your 5/8 bolt and reinstall your cover on the nose of the supercharger. After that's all done, you're going to reinstall your supercharger belt and your coolant reservoir.
All right, we just finished installing this 2/4 upper pulley. If you're interested in getting a VMP Stage 4 Power Pack for your GT500, check out the website or contact sales and support. If you like this edition of Shop Talk Saturday, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.